Shuma, I have some time to build up the. Do most people realize their genders, or rather their central organs, are inverted or inverts? A question I mentioned a while back. Since I noticed quite a few people bringing it up as an uncommon condition, or not everyone knows the secret in the gender investigation community. Besides that, this first video will be the appetizer. Shall it begin?
This general in Thailand is normal for me. When I'm in high school, I always have my friend that lady boy.
Oh.
I really love to work for them, and then they always play volleyball very nice, fast, and like a lady, but can put hit the ball very strong.
Like a man.
Shy like a man.
Like a man.
Shy like a man.
Like a man, huh? And so the self-snitching begins. By the way, I took so long to put together these sets of videos. A channel called Tyler Oliveira did this video before I could. It's a well put together video. Do check out the original Thailand video. Do keep in the back of your mind, this viral seahorse was a close friend at a young age with the man, or rather ladyboys at that high school. Inverts really love identifying biological males as a hard, man, unversed approach. From personal experience, free martins or swire seahorses always try and force the word into the conversation.
Do you know any lady boys?
Yes, I have friends.
Really?
Yeah.
Did they tell you like, hey, I'm lady boy?
No, I think we could know it by ourselves. Yeah.
Okay, you can tell.
Yeah.
When did you transition genders?
I think I transitioned when I was like 15, 14, something like that. And then, but I already know myself, like even like I'm not taking hormone yet, I already know like, oh, I am a woman, you know, like this is my energy when I was a kid, so, you know.
What did mom and dad say?
They support me, they don't stop me, but one time they asked me if I want to have kid.
Kid, a goat, a young goat.
At what age did you start taking hormones?
When I was 14, yeah.
14.
Mm-hmm.
What did your parents say about that?
Actually, I didn't ask because like I know this trick from my friend from high school.
More than likely a natural invert at high school was encouraging this.
And they just tell me like, oh, okay, if you take this, it's gonna make you look pretty. It's gonna make you like more feminine, and like, why not? I want to look feminine. You
Sure.
know? So then I just take it, and then
The rest is history.
yeah, I can have both as well.
Like, how did you get estrogen at 14?
Just in pharmacy.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, that's way different than the States.
Yeah. I think like first we look feminine, and I think maybe it's make you a little bit like moody, you know.
Okay, you started getting those womanly.
It's like a woman have period.
So at what age, what was the earliest age you knew you wanted to become a woman?
7,
7?
8, something like that.
What
yeah.
was the thought that went through your head?
I think I feel like even like when I was a kid, I still feeling like attractive to a man.
You see what I'm talking about? Snow, the biological male here, is attracted to the free martin female, basically. But I guess that's what I'm talking about here. The influence, very subtle.
It can be gay, but like I don't know, is what people design after what they want to be, because like after 14 you can design what you want to be.
That's a big decision, right? You're actively changing your gender. Do you think you're ready to make that decision at age 14?
I think like maybe I'm not ready, but I think like I'm not wrong.
Yeah, okay.
Once again, someone has completed my task at hand. A channel I brought up before called Candace Owens. They did a great job with the Ray J interview. Do check it out.
Doing what I was doing, and yeah, life's been a journey since then, and it still is.
And now, were your parents together?
My parents divorced at the age of 6, and then my mum remarried. So did my dad. So I've always had like a biological mother and father and two step parents.
And how did your parents deal with you? I guess the first question is, when did you first communicate your feelings about your identity, and how did your parents respond to it?
This, and obviously I say this is according to what my mum later told, because to be honest, I don't remember when I was 4. I only have like vivid memories, maybe from 5, 6 up. But basically what it would be is me and my mum were always particularly really close. I just was, you know, always gravitated towards my mum, and my mum's, you know, just everything to me.
Do make note of that.
And she would say that she would just, you know, notice like certain things that were different to the other kids. And when I'd vocalized to her how I felt and that I kept comparing myself to Ashton, and that's my older sister.
The Swire Seahorse mom, quote unquote, noticed her biological male son's bone structure. It being as broad as a Swire's and a Castratos, he notices, or rather his subconscious mind at the time notices that he's like his sister somehow. Rather, the Swire sister looks like him, a MAN. As all the Swires and Castratos are genetic males, once you're able to see that most females today suffer from the said disease, you wouldn't rightly say they are females. Hence his reaction at such age. Just to note, quite a lot of biological males today grew up just like this. Exactly like a script for such purposes. It's also not a surprise that most biological males are the ones you openly see transitioning, as it is who this is targeting.
And would talk like even about genitalia, which obviously I didn't understand at that time, but I even physically did things to myself that made no sense, kind of like to her, in comparison to why I wasn't like my sister when we'd have bath time and things like that. So that was the first verbalization. And then as I got older, it just got stronger because I was able to verbalize things more. But the interesting thing was, and once again, this is only my experience, and I'm just speaking today from a personal experience of being trans, when I was being really out there with my vocalizations about being trans, all of a sudden when I had realized in school that it wasn't appropriate to be saying those things and it wasn't normal and it was weird or I could be bullied for it, I completely went the opposite and I never brought it up again. So that was kind of like late primary to full high school. It was never a topic to my family ever again until I graduated.
Okay, so a couple of things that I'd like to ask as a follow-up. You answered how your mother felt about it. How did your father feel about it? Because I do think it is relevant that your parents separated when you were 6.
Yeah, for sure. And they obviously separated for their own reasons. My mother explained to me years later when I had the maturity that they got a divorce based on just a complete lack of compatibility, you know, and people got married then just kind of because they had to and popped out a few kids.
Kids gotta pop out a few goats. And what's the societal pressure? Inverts to the majority on Earth right now. It's almost like they're being, I don't know, controlled by some sort of other organism.
So they knew that when they divorced that they had to do the best for us. My dad this is what I like to explain to a lot of people, because a lot of people that see men with their LGBTQ children have kind of a femininity to them or they act in a certain way. My dad is a very staunch Australian. If you've watched Crocodile Dundee, that's the kind of vibe he is. Yeah, like shout out to my dad. He's known as Whitey, the football player in Bunbury. Very, you know, just that alpha male. And the thing is because I'm going to be honest today, obviously, just to get the story right. Obviously, my dad struggled with it more than my mum. But what later on came in the years, like later on when we conversed, was my dad said his issue was it was never accepting and understanding because he could see it with his own eyes my whole life, but it was the communication that he lacked on.
So the more than likely Free Martin dad somehow was able to see it. Noticing a pattern here?
So he couldn't talk to me how my mum could.
And this is a last follow-up question regarding your father. When they got separated when you were 6 years old, was he involved in your life?
Yeah, they went straight to legal.
Charlize Theron had a daughter or a son, but the story goes one day in the bathtub, my son or daughter looked up at me and said, "Mommy, I'm a girl." And that was it. That Charlize Theron then allowed her child to begin transitioning. And that to me sounds like a mental disorder that the parent is suffering for some reason. And a lot of the times I've noticed this trend that it does tend to be single women that sort of encourage this thing. So I'd like to ask.
Swires, not women. Orchestrados. Yeah, it doesn't matter if the mother is single. It seems subliminal messaging whether they're married or not.
What's crazy about the mermaid thing, my son likes to follow his sister, right? He loves her, and whatever she does, he wants to do. Same with me back. I used to double dutch and jump rope before I, started to hang out with my friends. Just because I wanted to follow my big sister. She got a mermaid outfit, he wanted one. So I got him a mermaid. He wanted to be a merman because she was she was swimming with the mer. So I'm like, all right, you want to be a merman? Then cool, I'll get you one. But I didn't think of it in the sense of that yet, just because, again, they're young and they're learning things as they go,
And I wanted to piggyback off that as well, sorry to cut you off, that was like a really valid question, but I have to state that with my mum, what she did was, it wasn't a validation of really how I thought and acted on it straight away. My mum was a listener.
A listener for what exactly? Or for whom, I should say.
My mum never shut me down for the things that I'd verbalize, but as for like counselling and transition, that was done way later. And that was never to punish me, but it was always like my mum was like a soundboard, but she never pushed.
Yeah, you
right.
said,
so
and
I
you
think
said
that's
that,
important.
You said you kept it quiet for...
Oh yeah, I totally internalize because you see what the world says and you're like, oh, sugar, this isn't normal, I'll just be quiet.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm trying to say here is that your mother, even now, even if you're older and you make a decision, for your mother to go back into a memory of something that every child goes through, they just say stupid stuff. They want to be mermaids. Yeah. They don't even understand. I mean, the first time we watched a Disney movie, my son said, "I'm a princess." And I said, "No, you're a prince." Right. And now you're seeing this sort of people trying to go backward. And I don't know if they're doing this out of protection or out of love and trying to pretend that they just want to validate the experiences that you're having. But I don't feel I don't feel like, oh, this must be real because you said this started when I was 4. Yeah. The first thing that comes to my head is mommy's got some issues, right? Because it's not like your mother said this, whatever, you were a kid when you were a toddler. Yeah. But then I really noticed this thing when you were 18 years old and your brain develops at the age of 26 years old. So that makes me a little bit uncomfortable because I do think, and I do see this pattern of single moms. And also just what you spoke to, you said I had an older sister. This is exactly right. So my daughter is much more of a roughhouser because she's following my son, who is the oldest. So she grabs swords, she wants to fight. Now, I was a tomboy. I went through a phase where I had I think all girls go through this tomboy phase, but I went through a phase when I was in 5th grade and I was acting, I wanted to just play with the boys, thought the boys were having more fun. I just thank God that this wasn't fashionable at the time, and I know that you're
it definitely wasn't fashionable. Yeah.
But now it's like parents.
Something that was told to me in a private moment with me and my mum when I was asking her to reflect, but that was just the start. But as you can imagine, there was many other things she started to share with me, between us, intimate moments of things. Oh, I remember this and that was because I was searching for that truth, and I'm also a very open-minded person, so I wanted to understand myself better.
As you can see, the mom and the dad knew, or the swire and the Freemartin knew the difference between a MAN and a swire, or a Freemartin, or a castrato.
I was just like, I'm a girl, but unfortunately that's not matching, and that's just how that's all I can verbalize it as. But the reason why other people caught on to that is because every day of my life, people literally were like, yeah, like she, her, girl. I would cross the street and they would be like, "Good morning, ladies," and then everyone would laugh. Like it was this known thing that people weren't being like trans or derogatory things at school, but they were literally like, "What the hell are you?" Without using swear words.
So that's interesting. So why would somebody say "good morning, girls" to you if you weren't presenting as trans?
Because that's what I'm saying, that's how feminine I was.
So you were
in literally a school uniform, presenting as me, just like whatever.
Another excellent example of just magically the general inverted or natural inverts populace just so happens to know that this person is a man, but of course they're calling him a girl. But you see, if I were to, as a biological copper-skinned male, if I wear certain hairstyles, they too would call me a girl by mistake. It's happened numerous times. So yeah.
Was perceived by the public as female.
Okay, so I believe that you can be you can act feminine. That I totally believe.
It wasn't really acting because it was a visual response. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the lollipop ladies that I'm not sure if y'all have them in America, like with the sticks, like stop, go. So it wasn't like an act of me prancing or anything. It was just the visualization.
It was real.
It was the head,
And
basically.
Just off the head, huh? Meaning that every single person around this person at this time somehow noticed. You know, they're basically saying, seeing as this is a man, they're saying that their swires are men. So they noticed that.
How I could execute it, but the feelings were always there, and I guess that I was hoping when I got older I would be able to gain more resources and more knowledge, and it could be possible to, you know, match the outside of how I was thinking. But I want to specify that there was gay people in my school, and like y'all both agreed on like feminine gays, and it's so interesting because, and these guys will probably hear this because they're still on my Facebook, but it was so interesting because even in little old Perth, Australia, they still identified and treated these gay boys in my class different to me. I was always on the outer. It was like they were the gays and I was the she. So even then...
So magically, no, coincidentally able to identify this person as a supposed woman.
With no knowledge and no understanding, they were still being like, it's different, because these gay boys weren't like straight gays as we call them, they were feminine gay boys and I was the she. So like, you can imagine that if that was the perception, it was matching what I was feeling, but I just wasn't vocalizing it. No, I didn't even care that other people were calling me she and her 24/7 because I knew how I felt.
But that was, you liked that.
Of course I did, but also embarrassment came with that because I was all, ugh, you know, the kids would laugh.
When did you know, it's, you know, people after work and people in their own time is going to love doing what they do.
So I just want to be clear. Danielle, I think you're a very kind person, you're a very open person. I'm just so happy that you're willing to have this discussion. But Ray J, when you say that you believe...
And shout out to the security team.
You believe that Danielle is a woman. You believe that I am a woman.
I believe, like she said, she's a trans woman.
You believe? Interesting way how she put it.
Okay.
And she made it very clear that they understand the difference. But if somebody
what is the difference? That's what I'd like you to answer, Ray J. Ray J.
What is the difference?
Yes, what is the difference, huh? What's the difference between a man and a seahorse swire? Not much, really.
Well, I would say what's the difference is what you have. Like what's on you, you know what I mean? And there is really no difference but what your preference is outside of work, outside of us coming together and doing what we need to do to finish the goal at hand.
No, but what is the difference between me and Danielle?
A difference, you say?
To differentiate, and I'm glad that you are, because I do think that that's much more respectful than where a lot of people are coming from, who self-identify as transgendered. But if you have to delineate, if you have to say, I'm a trans woman and Candace is a woman, then that necessarily means that we are not the same, right? We are something different.
I think everybody is different. Every human is different.
Yeah.
Nobody's the same.
Yeah, I agree.
Nobody's
And I
the
feel
same.
like even I wanted to double on that point is with intersex, let's be honest, a lot of people just back in the day used to say hermaphrodite and now it's known as intersex. hermaphrodite, and then now grammatically correct is intersex.
Grammatically correct?
Yeah, and I'm learning too, mind you, because I had to learn what intersex
Because
was.
hermaphrodite is when you got...
When you're born.
Finally, to the actual point. Ray is being prodding and testing the waters.
With basically both organs or XY chromosomes mixed and things like that. So it's not just I'm going to take a hormone, it's actually the way you're born.
So what does that mean?
So that basically, it makes the topic of trans actually more complex, because a lot of people now that are intersex identify under the trans umbrella. So it can get very tricky in conversation, because one point I wanted to make is that I have often wondered, and maybe we could film this one day, because I actually don't know, but my family have actually pulled me aside and said, based on, you know, the way I look, move in my whole journey, that they wanted to get a test to see if I was actually intersex, because it would make more sense with my whole journey, the way I look and the way that my life has unfolded. But it's a very expensive test from what I've heard, and I never had that done. Yeah. So that's what...
And to be clear...
Yeah, and that's when it does start to change, because as you can imagine, and even from a religious standpoint, because I've had this conversation with Christian women before, does that then make it different because it's actually is how you're born, versus a lot of people saying it's a choice?
Yes.
But like, Candace, we might be missing a chromosome. Like there might be you know what I'm saying? There might be one chromosome missing in certain humans that we ain't paying attention to. That's why we bridging the gap today.
Ah, yes. That face. The face of maybe we shouldn't bring up the topic. Or maybe the face of, wow, we finally got to the actual point. How common is the androgen disease? Of course, we already know the answer. About 90% of the population are inverts. Did you hear the mom, supposedly the mom, or the Swire mom more than likely, wanting to test to see if he was intersex? It's just like, they know.
The latest paper, the one that happened even after this, which is already better, uses stable diffusion, uses the thing that you use to make art. Like, what should a thing that you use to make art have anything to do with reading your brain? But of course it goes further. So in this one, they said, can they understand the inner monologue, the things you're saying to yourself in your own mind? Mind you, by the way, when you dream, like your visual cortex runs in reverse, so your dreams are no longer safe. But we'll try this. So they had people watch a video and just narrate what was going on in the video in their mind. So there's a woman, she gets hit in the back, she falls over. This is what the computer reconstructed the person thinking. See a girl, looks just like me, get hit in the back, and then she is knocked off. So our thoughts, are starting to be decoded. Yeah, just think about what this means for authoritarian states, for instance. Or if you want to generate images that maximally activate your pleasure sensor, anything else. Okay, but let's keep going, right? To really get the sense of the combinatorics of this. How about, can we go from Wi-Fi radio signals, sort of like the Wi-Fi routers in your house, they're bouncing off radio signals that work sort of like sonar. Can you go from that to where human beings are, to images? So what they did is they had a camera looking at a space with people in it. That's sort of like coming in from one eye. The other eye is the radio signals, so sonar from the Wi-Fi router. And they just learned to predict, this is where the human beings are. Then they took away the camera. So all the AI had was the language of radio signals bouncing around a room. And this is what they're able to reconstruct. Real-time 3D pose estimation, right? So suddenly AI has turned every Wi-Fi router into a camera that can work in the dark, specially tuned for tracking living beings.
And something to keep in mind, since they just so happen to know that you're a biological male, or I guess biological female somehow.
They did a study on an island one time, and these monkeys were starving to death because they had no food source. But there were coconuts that they happened to have on the island. The coconuts needed to be washed in the seawater that was around there in order for them to be edible. But what they found out was that when a tenth of the monkeys figured out that that was something that they could do and that that would work, they found out that monkeys on the other side of the island that had no contact with the monkeys here.
If you could recall the monkey discussions we had before, certain things will start to add up.
Suddenly started doing the same thing that they were doing over here. And they also found that monkeys on neighboring islands that had absolutely no contact did the same thing, that had the same problem. So this became an idea that they said that had to do with the 100th monkey, or that if you have 10% of a population that is doing something different, that's the critical mass number that you need to change public opinion and to shift it, 10%. And they found that's true with humans as well, because they've done follow-up studies to check that out, to see, does that work?
And that's why they studying us, that's why they stealing our melanin, that's why they trying to understand the functioning of our biological vehicles, that's why they can't understand our circadian rhythm, our biological clocks. We are the most different species of humans that the planet ever had. We're so different than them. Our teeth are shorter than theirs, their teeth are wider and longer, their canines are longer than our canines, their hydrochloric acid inside their stomach is hotter than ours.
You talking about white people?
I'm talking about white people. They produce an acidic enzyme in their mouth. We produce an alkaline enzyme in our mouth called amylase and amylose and trypsin. They can break down proteins and meats. Our stomachs can't break down proteins and meats because the pepsin and the hydrochloric acid doesn't get hot enough to break it down. They digestive system can go through something called putrefactions, or can't. Ours go through something called fermentation. A lot of them grow tails.
We brought this up before, but now I'm gonna tie it in with the intersex stuff. We now tie in the androgynous disease with the rhesus monkey diseases. Most doctors, once they notice a baby, Babylon, is intersex at birth, it's been widely reported that mysteriously the doctors just determine the gender of the babe at birth by cutting off certain body parts. You can look up the reports on this yourself. Now with the rhesus monkey and the tails, many of the genetic or pale skin, though pale doesn't signal japhite, have tails, or rather had tails. Quite a number of the doctors just cut it off and act like nothing ever happened. Just like the other parts at the front. You truly would be surprised how many people are actually walking around with tails. As I have shown some of the images in the previous 2 episodes. Alongside all of this as well, we have the pig and the chimp connection mentioned before, and then we should now be able to see the connection building. Rhesus monkeys that are somehow hive connected, pig and animals in general have a hive connection to the Earth's magnetic force. Plus many people today have their reproductive organs swapped. And the fact that we have so many IVF clinics and so many supposed women are sterile, and they all just so happen to know if you're a biological male. Oh man, somehow magically.
Their hair grow towards the earth or towards the ground. Our grow, it curls and it grows towards the sun. We have high melanin content. Inside of our melanin, we have something called selenium. They have low melanin content. Inside their melanin, they have something called ammonia. And they have a high sulfur concentration inside their cells. And that's why when they get hot, when they get hot outside, they get colder. Or if it get cold outside, they get hotter. That's why you can see a white man running in Daisy Duke and he hot. Or when they get hot and they get around water, it changes and the sulfur mixed with ammonia and it gives off this actually canine smell. And that's why they say they smell like wet dogs. You see, this is all scientifically proven.
For those that are lost, the biological male skeleton, whether you're a swire seahorse or a biological male such as myself, your center of mass remains balanced when you pull your hands behind your back, such as in the video presented. The fact that most of the supposed males in these clips and most supposed males on Earth fail this simple test should tell you something about their genetic skeletal structure. TLDR, most of the supposed males on Earth today are Freemartins. You know, short torso and all that. The subtle conditioning of the wording, only women could do it.
we just had a bunch of disagreements. It was a normal relationship, but we did have disagreements. In 2022 is when things kind of like shifted. In 2022, in January, he started making comments about how he didn't like me with my nails, lashes, and weave. So he wanted me to practically look like a man. Now, from January all the way up until April, we still having our disagreements. That was
So, other than trauma right now, yeah, we get it. Free Martins are like, DL. This person just self-snitched. And not only that, the Free Martin somehow knows that swears are actually genetic males.
Prison was so much fun that I ended up doing a whole 3 years. Don't quote me on it being fun, because I'm supposed to never ever say it. My mom actually told me never ever say it. Now I'm saying it in the interview. I enjoyed it. Like, I know that it's not like normal for somebody to say they enjoy being in prison or jail, but I enjoyed it. Imagine going to like Disneyland. Like, imagine, like, we be seeing all these men, like, on the streets or in the hood or, like, blah, blah, and they're just not accessible because there's bad out here. Why? Guys don't want to, because there's some bad out there and they like us, but they ain't gonna f us. But imagine these fine-ass behind bars, never able to even smell the scent of some, but all they get is your butt. Okay, comments. And so that's honestly what made it fun for me. Like, I really, like, I milked it for all it was worth. I was only supposed to do a year and a half. But I ended up doing a whole 3 years, and I was getting down silly by the finest. Like, oh my!
Were you forced to be sober there too?
No.
Tactic 1: hands in the pocket. And they do this as an attempt to hide their short kangaroo arms. This goes in hand with attempting to broaden the shoulders. An illusionary tactic to try and hide the sloping shoulders and small deltoids. Tactic 2: wearing suits with shoulder paddings. Why do you think so many men, quote unquote, are in love with their suits to the point of labeling it as mandatory or professional? An illusionary tactic to broaden the shoulders and the collarbone. Side note, the bow and the tie in general helps with distracting your eyes. Nice collar tie you have there. Tactic 3. Have you ever noticed how high many armrests on chairs are? When next watching a Free Martin in a video or stream, notice how high. An illusionary tactic to broaden the shoulders and to hide the kangaroo arms. Notice also when they don't, how sloped or rounded their shoulders become. Tactic 4. A lot of men today who put their hands on their hips for a considerably long time, a feminine trait, and an illusionary tactic to hide the sloping shoulders. Tactic 5. A lot of people wear sunglasses today for numerous reasons. Free Martins sometimes wear them at night for fashion reasons, of course. But knowing what we know, one of the main reasons for them wearing it is the hiding of the low eyebrows that are close to the upper eyelid, hide the close together eyes, the non-deep-set eyes, and to distract you from the lack of a brow ridge, sloping forehead, or their suspect non-V-shaped eyebrows, if they are that type of Free Martiness. All biological female genetic markers. The sunglasses are a great multi-tool, as you can tell. Tactic 6. Ever noticed the amount of men today that sit with their legs crossed or closed? Now you know why. Tactic 7. There are a lot of bald men today. One of the side effects of abusing growth hormones or steroids for genetic women is baldness. Notice the amount of bald colored jakes walking around. Don't lie, it's a lot. Tactic 8. Ever notice a number of the men today mince when they walk? Put one foot in front of the other, while the others have this weird robotic walk only the trained eye can detect, such as animators, meaning they are forcing the toy soldier walk. Tactic 9. In bodybuilding, besides the bald heads, ever notice they always put their arms up in a flex pose while inflating their lungs? An illusionary tactic to broaden the shoulders. It also removes the female ape gut that they get. That is free martins and FTMs. Fun fact, a 4-pack of abs is a near 100% sign that you're a genetic woman.
Because people do not come to a show to see bellies. And if they want to do that, they go to a maternity ward or something like that.
Throughout your training is absolutely essential, besides just the posing training afterwards that you have to do anyway, at least 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And this is why so many of the bodybuilders are having a difficult time on the stage to pull in their stomach. Then they're wiped out and their stomach is hanging out, they're walking around. How can I vote for this guy to be the winner of the Arnold's Classic when he cannot even handle a pose-off?
10. Ever notice the very large watches many of the men today wear? Generally an FTM tactic. Women's wrists are acute, while the biological males are bony, rectangular, and long. Quite a number of the male inverts hands are not veiny. Imagine having to make videos about getting your hands hard, whatever that means. Wearing one of these large, ridiculous watches distracts you from the fact that it's an inverted female. Though they do look superb, even on my hand. Tactic 11. Many people today are literal mouth breathers. The alternative psychological tactic for this is most free martins and FTMs today don't have the male jaw, the mandible. Now with the large number of free martins with sloping and non-square jaws, mandibles, it appears normal to the unaware biological male. Yet on the other hand, why mewing is so popular proves again most men today are free martins. The male jaw should be mainly bone with a little muscle. Women's jaws when mewing is largely muscle based. Tactic 12. Smoking. Yes, smoking. It dehues the lips. Free martins need to hide their bright pink lips somehow. Plus the Swires and Castratos can just blame their non-pink lips on smoking, as it dehues the lips. Tactic 13. Large rings. Distracting illusionary tactic to distract you from the finger length and finger ratio. In terms of finger length, middle finger, ring finger, index finger, pinky finger, and then thumb. Everything else is a woman or an invert. Tactic 16. Shaping of the hair. It would seem normal, even formal, till you realize why many people do it. Biological women get widow's peak, so they have to shave it to look, just like me. An illusionary tactic. 17. Notice the clothing. The way how the pants sag, as free martins and FTMs all have long legs compared to their torso. To match the biological males, they try and sag the pants. Also, they're gay. Notice the hyper obsession with hats and beanies. Hats hide the balding head, widow's peak, and the receding hairline free martins and FTM get because they shouldn't have testosterone in their bodies. Overly large upper body clothing attempts to hide the female gut, the sloping delts, the lack of a neck, the V-shaped calves, the high traps, and the wide as the ocean hip bone they possess. Ridiculously long pants, long legs of course. It hides the smooth knees, and in a number of cases the lack of a golden rod for the FTMs, all pretending to be an invert. Superbly tight clothing. Again, most of these free martins are gay. Yes, it's a lot of them. The HIV rate is all that needs to be said. Remember, it's their fashion, not their biologicals. It's why you would find so many anomalies when shopping for clothing. If you know, you know. All illusionary tactics. Tactic 18. Many FTMs get their brows shaved in a styled manner to hide the fact that they got an upper brow silicone injection to somewhat create a brow ridge, an illusionary tactic. Tactic 19. Ever notice how high the build in the handles for most heavy machine boxes equipment are? To a biological male, we would hold the item far lower than our kangaroo free martins. If you know, you know. 28. Media. Let's deal with cartoons first. One of the main tactics is to get biological males used to the free martin body as normal when it's far from it. Most media is simply entertaining them, not us. Here's an example of a cartoon. A female on a GHG, or testosterone, end up getting these strange sets of elongated heads. Why is it that women today shave their eyebrows? Oh, that's right. Biological females have naturally thin, low, and level eyebrows. Not thick, bushy, high, set, V-shaped eyebrows. Femininity training. Why are their voices so deep? Don't lie. It is. That's because the genetic male's broad diaphragm, plus the testosterone. It's why we have a word called castrato. Swears are somewhat natural castratos. They rarely notice with how many free martins comment on it, even in front of me.
Hello, welcome in. What's your name?
My name is Uche.
Uche, how old are you?
I'm 23.
Okay. And Uche, what do you do?
I'm doing my master's in health information technology. Also
I need me a girl who can go from 2.
Was that good?
Long colored nails. Remember what I said about digit ratio? Well, most swears have mine. Swears seahorses do tend to vary, but variety in such a context means you aren't a full genetic woman. The long nails distract your eyes from the digit ratio or those hard, veiny hands on the castratos and MTF. Remember what I said about the rectangular, broad, and thin wrist of a man? That distracts you from that and the fact that their arms are way lower than their free martin counterparts. Rosy cheeks makeup. Ever notice them putting on red makeup on the cheeks? Yeah, biological, more specifically, biological pale women get rosy cheeks. Pink lipstick. Biological women get naturally very pink lips, so they mimic this and distract you with many colors or gloss. Long eyelashes distract you from how high the eyebrows and deep-socketed their eyes are. Learned this recently, male eyelashes are supposedly longer. Wonder why they're self-snitching. Dark mascara to further emphasize the deep-set eyes and to distract from the high V-shaped eyebrows and the far-apart eyes. The makeup in general hides the masculine face. This is obvious. The free martins have a mass pointed this out. Like, come on, brother. Long necks, or rather, clothing covering the neck. Pay attention to it. Seahorses, seahorses, generally have a short neck or short necks, but castratos and MTFs maintain their long necks for the most part. Notice how many free martins don't wear long necks. Notice how high they've been wearing their pants and skirts, shorter legs than their torso. Illusionary tactic number 800. Notice that they love wearing wigs. A man's hair shrinks back because of high testosterone. It also ends up becoming harder. Clothing that de-emphasizes the shoulders. It becomes obvious when you see the broad shoulder and the vertical elongated deltoids. Clothing that emphasizes the shoulders. Yeah, it's already broad and they do this. At least they are embracing their masculinity. High heels tilt hips and the backbone. Biological women have short and intense torso curves. You'll see its curves inwards, dramatically before the rump. They are attempting to mimic this. Brazilian butt lift. Biological women have a wide hip bone, wider than their shoulders, and a low waist girth. This procedure is an attempt to match that. So at what point did you say, they clearly know they're genetic males? Now you know why the alpha, the Aba, the Hoa, seems to dislike women wearing jewelry, and all this other stuff. Keep that in mind for this series of videos. I don't know if you have noticed the increase in cheating in competitive gaming. It really does spark light on the fact that many free martin streamers and swears, especially in FPS games, would boldly lie to your face that they're not cheating, yet a number of them do get caught. It really puts into perspective how fake most people are. Lying about cheating to thousands would be easy. Most inverts do it. Hiding the inversion is always on their mind. So of course with this rampant cheating situation, why would it be different? It's sad because that heavily gender-inverted game could have near game-breaking bugs, or scummy or terrible deaths, but for some odd reason, they stick with the game. It's not until you realize what the free martin masses, especially the pale ones, are looking for. I mean, they're going into trans investigation YouTube channels and commenting about if they are trans or this person's trans, even after watching, I guess, hundreds of videos. It's just like, come on.
In Russia, as well as in the West, research has been underway for many years in biological synthesis, that is, artificial life forms. And according to High Intelligence, a stunning breakthrough took place in Russia some years ago. The Russians refer to this breakthrough as a providential discovery, something they learned almost by accident. They discovered the key to creating what are known as organic robotoids. An organic robotoid is an artificial robot-like creature. It looks and acts exactly like a human being, and yet it is not human. A robotoid is alive in a biological sense, but it is an artificial life form. Robotoids respond to conventional routine medical tests in the same way as humans do. They eat, they drink, they breathe, they bleed if cut, and they can be killed. Robotoids can also think, but they think only in the sense that a computer thinks. Like any other computer, the brain of a robotoid has to be programmed for each assignment it is given. But unlike many electronic computers, the biological computer brain of a robotoid possesses an enormous memory. As a result, robotoids can be programmed to communicate and think in such complex patterns that they act human. Organic robotoids are remarkable creatures, but they have many drawbacks. They don't grow or reproduce, but must be manufactured one by one in the desired form. They also have a very limited lifespan, measured in months or even weeks, depending upon how they are utilized. This is due to the fact that their metabolism, while it resembles that of humans, is very inefficient. A robotoid can be manufactured on very short notice, a matter of hours. But after a few weeks or months, it suddenly begins to degenerate physically and mentally. When that takes place, the robotoid has to be removed from service and disposed of. To extend its useful life as much as possible, a robotoid is customarily cooled down to slow its metabolism between assignments. Organic robotoids are extremely expensive, troublesome creatures to produce and utilize. And robotoid capabilities do not exceed those of human beings. All they can really do is simulate human beings. But, my friends, for intelligence purposes, that's all they have to do. To produce an organic robotoid, it is necessary to have a pattern to go by. The pattern required is that of genetic coding, taken from a few cells from the body of a human being. In this respect, the Russian technique sounds like cloning, but the technique itself is totally unrelated to genuine cloning. A robotoid is produced within a matter of hours, and it simulates the human donor at his current age. Like any man-made copy of anything, a robotoid is never a perfect copy of the human that is to be simulated. There's always small discrepancies in appearance and behavior, but these are seldom great enough to arouse any suspicion. Last month, I revealed that the Russians can manufacture organic robotoids, which are almost exact carbon copies of real human beings. This is done by a process that simulates the genetic coding of the person to be copied. It sounds a little like cloning, but it's not. A clone of a human would itself be a human, but an organic robotoid is not human. It's an artificial life form, like an animal in some ways, but like a computerized machine in others. Every Russian robotoid has what is called a holographic brain. This brain duplicates essentially the entire memory of a person being copied. The key to doing this is a new technique called an ultrasonic cerebral hologram. Using high-frequency sound waves, which are inaudible, a complete three-dimensional picture is made of a person's brain.